I'd known Jeremy for a long time. In fact, I knew him when he and I were up for the same part with Ingrid Bergman, Turgenev's Month in the Country, and it was a mano. And I thought, oh, it's about my only time I felt a bit jealous. But I thought I wished him all the best, and because he was better looking than me anyway. And I said, you got it because of your looks. And so I sent him up about it. But I wanted to work with that woman so much. And he told me so many stories about her. Anyway, that's beside the point. But we went into a pub one lunchtime, and I had about 6 or 7 cigarettes in 2 hours and a couple of pints. He'd had about 50 cigarettes, easily. Now, I did say, listen, I know you ought to cut down your smoking. He said, what do I go back on to, darling Coke? Because I remember once he'd been to America. I hadn't seen him for about a couple of years. And I was in the Midland Hotel in Manchester, in the restaurant. And Jeremy went, darling! Came up, gave me a full kiss on the lips. I said, Jeremy. So hundreds of people think I'm probably gay, which I'm not. But I full on the lips. And I said, Jeremy, don't do that in front of me. Let's go somewhere else. So I couldn't stay in the restaurant because I did feel slightly embarrassed. Actors, as you know, do embrace. But we don't normally kiss men full on the lips, even if we know them quite well.
Sure.
Something Jeremy can get away with, though.
Yeah.
Oh, he could get away with murder. I think Jeremy was a tortured soul in lots of ways from day one, because he had an awful disease when he was little, and it never really left him. Bisexual, not that I've got anything the matter with that, but it's problematic for the people who are.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget, he was married about at least twice, but I know his big love affair was with Gary Bond, who I knew very well.
Yeah.
Attractive looking man, but that friendship and that affair lasted for about, at least 30, 35 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, as you probably know, when he was in hospital, one or two of the really appalling newspapers like the News of the World and the Mirror on Sunday tried to make out he was dying of AIDS, which wasn't true at all. Mm-hmm. And one or two of the damn journalists were disguising themselves as medical people to try and interview him. Mm. And Ted Hardwicke really tried to look after him. The press were appalling because he wasn't dying of AIDS. He didn't die of AIDS, but of course it's a good story, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you know Ted?
I knew him very, very well because of the knowing him at the Royal Shakespeare Company and the Old Vic and things like that. So,
okay.
And I'd got to know him through Olivier. But there again, I mean, he looked after Jeremy like a brother. He adored Jeremy and looked after him when he was dying, actually.
Yeah.
For about nearly a year and a half, I suppose. Mm. And he was a very good actor himself.
Yeah.
We're talking about some sad things, but it's part and parcel of Jeremy. On a certain level, he was such a warm, kind-hearted human being.
Yeah.
But Jeremy I liked him a hell of a lot. Scorpio, like me. He was good. He was lovely to act with. The way he did it was beautiful. It was a must-see. Like television now, who cares? You said, did you see? Oh, no, I didn't, because there's so many channels.
Right.
But if you hadn't seen Sherlock Holmes, you were in trouble, because you didn't have any conversation at a party next day.
Yeah.
Jeremy was absolutely brilliant in it, I thought.
Yeah.
When you think of somebody he was in My Fair Lady, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what got him the part with Ingrid Bergman. Now, if I'd been in My Fair Lady, I'd have got the part.
So this was the second episode that was directed by John Madden, who went on to win an Academy Award. Had you ever worked with him before? How did you find him?
Oh, he was marvellous. And the character I was playing was a lord, I think, wasn't he? Or something.
Yeah.
Earl. He said, in those days, even if you were an earl and you came from a certain part of the country, you had an accent. So I put on a slight northern, if you remember, whereas I could have been playing it like that, hello, all right, which actually would have been a bit boring because, everybody does earls like that. And it made it more, I played it on the middle range of my voice, and I think it was better for him to say. And I thought, it's amazing for a director to say, listen, I know he was an earl, but of course, I mean, No, Churchill didn't have an accent, but quite a few people like Disraeli, who was Jewish actually, had a slight accent in those days.
Yeah.
Well, it had a marvellous cast, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And I liked Cheryl. I'd worked with Julian Curry at the Bristol Old Vic in 1964, and we went on a world tour. And Julian Curry's hair was going. He had green ointment, but if your hair's going, and he was quite young. But Julian was one of those, like most actors at parties, because they hadn't eaten sometimes, early days, he stacked his plate full of food, and he hid it behind a clock, and he ate some other food, and about 2 hours later I saw him getting another stack of stuff behind that. Julian Curry, I liked him a lot. He was a strange man in lots of ways.
Yeah. Did you say you had also known David Burke?
David and I met at the Bristol Old Vic round about 1970. And he said, have we met before? I said, I don't know, I've got a vague idea. All right. We then worked out we'd been on guard duty in national service.
Really?
He in a different regiment at Woolwich for just one night, talking about what we were going to do. I was going to be a journalist or an actor. He was going to be an actor. And that was what? About 15 years before, at least, or 20 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I said, I know one. He said, yes, I got it. We were on guard duty.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, there again, I mean, he was very good in that. And so was Ted, of course.
Yeah.
If you get good actors, like you had in the Sherlock Holmes, it still stands up.